right, so we are recording today's webinar and it will be posted to our website, and we'll be sharing it with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture to share as well. Thank you everybody who's with us this morning. My name is Danielle Coco. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director at the Southern U.S. Trade Association. We are excited to have a webinar today with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture to talk about how SUSTA and TDA help agribusinesses in the state of Tennessee promote their products internationally and get the Pick Tennessee brand out into the world. And we are really pleased today to have Commissioner Charlie Hatcher with us. He has been the Commissioner of Agriculture for the Tennessee Department since January 2019 when he was appointed by Governor Lee. And prior to that, he served for 10 years as the state veterinarian with the Department of Agriculture. So, Commissioner, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, you know, early on as commissioner, I learned the importance of the ag and forestry industries in Tennessee. I learned the value of value-added products, and also what really I didn't know until I became commissioner, the importance of exports. And it's what a tremendous opportunity for Tennesseans with the wonderful products we have. And you can see there's on this slide that I won't read it to you, but you can see the importance. Look at on the average annual exports of agricultural exports total almost $2 billion, or about $2 billion. And we can grow upon that. When I started as commissioner, we didn't have that big an involvement with SUSTA or Southern U.S. Trade Association, and this association is supported by USDA, and there's a lot of resources available there. I mean, a lot of resources, and not only that, there's money available that you really want to take advantage of. And so early on in the administration, we wanted to concentrate on SUSTA and concentrate on exports. And Whitney Flatt has led the charge on that. And we've gone from not much participation in the association to just, you can see the numbers here, to just, I'd say we're one of the most active states now. And we're proud of that. And we want to build on that. So I would encourage you to become part of this. Try to take advantage of the CostShare money, try to take advantage of the resources that Tennessee Department of Agriculture and SUSTA provides, and we can build on what we have and make Tennessee's exports even go way higher than that. So I won't belabor the point, and you can see the variety. Look at the variety of the countries that we've engaged with and got markets with. It's just some of those, I don't even know where they're located. But, you know, I'd like to go sometime, but these countries want our products. They want to engage with us, and it's an opportunity for you to sell products to them. So without any further ado, I'll turn it back over.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. And thanks so much for being with us today. And we also have Whitney Flatt on. Hi, Whitney. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. Thanks for having me. As Danielle mentioned, my name is Whitney Flatt. I'm the International Trade Consultant for the Tennessee Department of Ag, and my primary job is to help small and medium-sized agribusinesses export their products. So, you know, whether you're a craft beer company or a wood products company or livestock genetics, anything you can think of that has to do with agriculture, we want to get your products overseas because there's a high demand for U.S. products and particularly Tennessee products. So I want to thank SUSTA for hosting the webinar this morning, and I want to thank all of you for being here. And we're excited to get started and show you what SUSTA is all about and what their programming is and how you can leverage it. And I just wanted to say, you know, throughout the webinar, don't be afraid to ask questions. We love questions. This is a learning opportunity. So we definitely want you to feel free to engage. If something's unclear throughout the presentation, we definitely want to make sure we can get those questions answered for you.
Yep. And to that point, you are muted. So type your questions into the Q&A and we'll get to those at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. one thing Whitney asked is that we start by sharing the whole ecosystem of SUSTA and all of the partners that are available, and where the funding comes from. So our programs are called market access programs, and they are created and funded by the USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service, FAS. Excuse me. They created these programs back in the 70s, and SUSTA administers them for the southern part of the U.S. So for companies that are headquartered in other regions of the U.S., they would go to these different cooperators to access the funds. There are also cooperators who might handle a specific commodity, like there's a U.S. Meat Export Federation that has similar programs and gets funding through the Market Access Program. But SUSTA and the other state regional groups, we handle all the value-added food products that are, where companies are trying to promote their products outside of the U.S. So our region, as I said, it's the whole South. We are as west as Texas, on up to West Virginia, Maryland, on down to Puerto Rico. The commissioners, like Commissioner Hatcher, are our board members, and the activity managers, like Whitney, they're the ones who actually manage our events. So we'll talk a lot more about our programs and the events that we host, but they're the ones who are going to be, running the programs along with SUSTA. We have a staff of 14 at SUSTA. We're headquartered in New Orleans, so it would be quite hard to cover such a broad region of the country without such strong support from each of our departments of agriculture in the southern region. So we really value our connection, and it's how SUSTA runs, really. We couldn't do it without such strong partnerships. And then in addition to the partnerships with the departments of agriculture throughout the South, SUSTA has in-country consultants that are based in these countries, Canada, China, Hong Kong, Europe, India, and Mexico. So these are folks who are not SUSTA staff, and they're not employed by the USDA, but they are experts in these markets on agriculture that's coming into their country. And particularly U.S. agriculture. So, these are folks, when we have events in these countries, in these markets, you're going to probably meet them, in addition to us having an activity manager at that event. But the USDA does have staff that's located overseas as well. So FAS staffs 94 offices in 75 countries around the world. They're typically within a U.S. embassy, and they are also great resources for us and for our companies. They're boots on the ground. They understand the policy, maybe the labeling requirements. They'll help us vet foreign buyers that are contacting our companies and that kind of thing. So it takes a village, and there's quite a good village here to help U.S. companies who are trying to export. So lots of folks. Whitney, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just say, realizing that there is an entire ecosystem, especially if you're a new to export company, there's an entire ecosystem that's a part of the Southern U.S. Trade Association that's embedded within the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. So I think the thing that we run into most often with new to export companies as they're just getting started, they worry they're going to have to go it alone. They may not have the biggest international marketing budget. They may not even have a dedicated international marketing team. So the thing to remember with us is that you do have that ecosystem, and we basically act as an extension of your marketing team to help get those products into different countries around the world.
All right. So because the bulk of our funding does come from the USDA Foreign Ag Service, we do have some requirements that companies have to meet. They must be headquartered in our region, which we already covered. Small by Small Business Administration standards. So for market access programs, we really work with small businesses. We do have an additional stream of funding that came about in 2018 called the Agricultural Trade Promotion Program. This was to help kind of buoy some of the difficulties that exporters were encountering starting in 2018 with some trade difficulties. So we can also now work with companies that are up to 3 times the SBA size limit through that other stream of funding. So basically for the years that ATP funding is available, we can work with small and medium-sized companies. Companies also have to have adequate resources and product supply. You know, exporting isn't something you do on a whim. It takes time, it takes resources and planning. So we just want to make sure that if a company is really, you know, putting all of that effort into exporting, that they are really ready to do so. And in hand with that is the annual sales minimum we would like to see of around $50,000 at a minimum. The company types that we work with are everybody from manufacturers, even if you don't own the label, but you're manufacturing the product, growers, farmers cooperatives, and export management companies who, again, wouldn't own the brand. They're just representing the brand in export. So it's a variety of company and different types of folks. In terms of products, they have to have a brand name on them. We aren't helping promote Tennessee horticulture as just a group. We would be helping a specific horticulture, you know, a nursery promote their brand of product in the foreign market. The products have to be made from at least 50% U.S. agriculture, so that's 50% of the ingredients have to be farmed, fished, or forested here in the U.S. So, you know, some of it can be imported, but the majority must come from U.S. And then there needs to be a U.S. origin statement on the product indicating that it's a product of the U.S., made in Tennessee, something it's explicitly stating that the product is from here. And then just to give you an idea of the variety of products that we work with, it's everything from you know, grocery staples, your consumer-ready foods, snack foods, sauces, seasoning, you see everything on the screen, alcohol, you know, we have seen a big uptick in craft brewers and distillers who are interested in exporting. Tennessee has a lot of horticulture companies who are also interested. And then, you know, if you're really just looking at that 50% U.S. ag content, there are some other non-food and non-horticulture products like supplements and all-natural health and beauty products. So again, it's a pretty wide variety of companies that we can touch. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the fun part, which is SUSTA's programs. We offer 2 core programs, our global events, where we help connect U.S. buyers, or U.S. companies with foreign buyers, and our 50% cost share program, where we can reimburse half of certain international marketing expenses. So we'll talk first about global events. Our 3 key event types are inbound missions that take place here in the U.S., outbound missions, which are, you know, one-on-one facilitated meetings outside of the U.S., and then pavilions at trade shows all over the world. Of course, now we are doing most of these virtually as well. But to talk about, you know, how our events look in a normal non-pandemic year, for inbound trade missions, this is when we would bring foreign buyers here to the U.S. to meet with our companies. Typically it's in a hotel ballroom type setting, and the U.S. companies set up, you know, their products and their marketing materials on the tabletops, and the foreign buyers would rotate amongst the companies. SUSTA does our best with the foreign consultants that are, you know, part of that event to really match make the right buyer with the right companies, so that you're having meaningful discussions with buyers who are interested in your product. The beauty of these inbound missions is that you're meeting a handful of foreign buyers without leaving the U.S., possibly without even leaving Tennessee. Whitney might talk about a couple of inbound missions that are going to Tennessee next year. So it's a great opportunity. You know, when else could you meet with so many foreign qualified foreign buyers? just in your own neck of the woods, and it's only $25. So this is something that is great for companies that are new to export, but we also have seasoned exporters who take part in these inbound missions. Whitney, did you want to say anything about them?
Yeah, I cannot stress enough how much I love inbound trade missions, just because it's such a great bang for your buck because you never have to leave home. It's a nominal $25 fee to register for these opportunities. And then I like to explain it to my companies as, Danielle said, you're going to meet with these qualified pre-matched buyers, maybe in a ballroom setting, or they might even come to your facility. It's almost like speed dating is what we like to describe it as. So you'll have 20 to 30 minutes to meet with each qualified buyer and start that relationship, start that conversation, see if it's a good fit. Really can't stress enough how important these inbound trade missions are, especially for companies who are newer to exporting. We've actually got a couple really good ones coming up in 2021. We're going to have a European beer, wine, and spirits inbound trade mission in April of 2021. So we'll bring those buyers from all across Europe. I think we're actually focusing a little bit more on the Scandinavian countries for that particular trade mission, but they'll spend a few days in Tennessee getting to know our beer, wine, and spirits companies. And then we also have another great trade mission for horticultural products coming in from Canada in July of 2021. So again, lots of great opportunities to meet these folks on your home turf, not spend a lot of time, not spend a lot of money. Really can't stress enough how valuable these inbound trade missions are, and would highly encourage any company that's looking to dip their toe into those export waters to entertain doing an inbound trade mission first.
Yes, and as Whitney mentioned, sometimes it's not in a hotel ballroom type setting. Sometimes, depending on the product types. So this, you'll see a image on the screen. It's a seafood processing plant. So we took buyers to the Chesapeake Bay area, and they actually went to the different seafood processors. We'll do, for breweries and distilleries, quite often bringing the buyers into the different breweries and distilleries, as we've done in Tennessee. So it's, it kind of depends on the event, but I mean, even more meaningful when they can come and see the whole process and really understand the story. One thing we hear all the time, when you're dealing with someone in a foreign country, on both sides, there needs to be a lot of trust. And when they can come and actually see your facility and see the whole process and understand the story, maybe it's a family farm or it's something, that's grown out of a passion of yours, that too really, can help with the whole process, building trust, but also getting them really engaged with your products. All right, so our outbound trade missions have that similar speed dating component, except for you, the U.S. company would travel to the foreign country to meet the foreign buyers. In addition to meeting them, there are really interesting retail tours. So you will go to, as part of the event, we would take you to supermarkets, some of these really big ones, as well as some of the more niche groceries, convenience stores, places where your products might end up should you get distribution there. That way you can see the competition, check prices, flavor profiles, and really do a lot of firsthand research on your own that way. In addition to that, you are getting presentations from our consultants who are in the country, as well as the USDA FAS staff that's located there. These are really interesting ways to, once you're a little more ready, to go and explore a foreign market for your products. And they are quite affordable. I would say most of them, if you get the early bird special, are about $400. And included in that fee, you can either opt to have SUSTA pay for your flight, your round trip international flight, or your lodging for the whole trade mission. So, we really try to make meeting foreign buyers and the export process as affordable as we can for small businesses. Whitney went to Scandinavia for a trade mission. Was that last year, Whitney?
Mm-hmm, last fall, yeah.
Yep. So it's, we're going all over the world and really doing our best to introduce our U.S. companies to different foreign markets. Of course, right now. That is not possible with, so many travel bans and everything that's happening in the world right now. So we have pivoted and we have gone virtual for our trade missions. So of course, through Zoom and other platforms, it's fairly easy to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody, sort of like what we're doing now. But where we really go the extra mile with the virtual trade missions is getting your product into the hands of the buyer prior to you meeting face-to-face. So you would ship your products, let's say you're doing a virtual trade mission with Canada, for instance. You would ship product samples to our consultant in Canada, and they would make sure to get it into the hands of all the buyers that you would be meeting. In addition to that, you get a market assessment that's specifically done for your company and your products. So it's, I think as close to the real deal as possible, in these troubling times. So, we look forward to getting back to our, normal planned events. But in the meantime, this is a great way to meet foreign buyers and get them acquainted with your products. And I believe most of our virtual missions are also $25. All right, and then we host pavilions at international trade shows. So SUSTA will rent out anywhere from 5 to 20 booth spaces at a show and create a SUSTA branded pavilion, and then we turn around and offer the booths in our pavilion to U.S. companies. So those folks that participate with us, they have their own booth space, their marketing materials, their products, handing out samples. But the beauty is that you're part of a larger pavilion. You're in the USA pavilion and in the SUSTA pavilion. So people are coming there to find good quality products. And you have the support of SUSTA and activity managers like Whitney at the event, should any issues arise, people there to help troubleshoot and support you on the floor. So really helpful. In addition to that, we try to bring the cost down considerably. I would say most of our shows are, quite less than they would be if you were to go on your own and pay like maybe $6,000 or $8,000. If you come with SUSTA, it might be $1,200 or $1,500 to exhibit in our pavilion. In addition to that, if it's a country where English is not the primary business language, we provide interpreters. We usually provide a shipping allowance as well to get your products and your marketing materials there. These are great ways to conduct business and to get out in the world. Whitney, anything that I'm forgetting?
Well, I would just say, as far as if you've ever done a trade show, especially a large-scale trade show, you know that they can be a great opportunity to meet thousands of buyers at once, but they're also a little bit of a three-ring circus because there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of components and a lot of deadlines to make sure that you meet as far as shipping your product, making sure your booth furniture is ordered. And so as an activity manager managing those events with you, we help you make sure that you meet those deadlines, that you get everything in order before you're at the trade show. And then even once you're at the trade show, we are there to lend assistance. I do everything from making sure that your refrigerator that you ordered gets delivered, your electric gets delivered. I've even run around and helped folks who needed to figure out how to dispose of some grease that they were frying pickles in. Where's the waste station, so that you all can focus on doing what you do best, which is promoting your product. And so I really, again, want to reiterate that ecosystem of we're there in your corner to act as an extension of your marketing team to make sure that you are having a successful event, whether it's a trade show, trade mission, or whatever.
Yes, yep, very good points. And just to also go back to the ecosystem. So, Whitney isn't going on every event. Let's say she has, a handful of events that she manages in a year, and there might be companies from Texas and Georgia and South Carolina at those events. So Whitney's there to help everybody in our pavilion, let's say at a trade show. So if you were to sign up for an event and Whitney's not the manager, maybe it's a manager from Kentucky or Florida or somewhere else, they're there to help all of SUSTA. So that's the beauty of the Regional Trade Association, is we're really pooling our resources and helping companies throughout the southern region. Of course, virtual trade shows are now in our vocabulary as well. Most trade shows have been canceled or postponed this year. So we have not implemented a virtual show yet. Our first one is coming up in September at Seattle, China. It will be a way to, that's actually a trade show that's taking place. So we will be facilitating companies shipping their products to the show. And then our in-country consultants in China will be on hand to talk about the products and kind of, be a proxy exhibitor for the companies that choose to do that. So it's interesting, and we'll see how that goes. We're excited. We're looking into, all kinds of new virtual opportunities. So I would just suggest to stay tuned. Everything gets posted to our website and our social media. And, as tough as this pandemic is, it has cause for constant innovation. And we have been doing a ton of webinars. We're bringing in, whether it's FAS posts. So for instance, we have one coming up featuring the Agriculture Trade Office in Japan. That is September 16th. But sometimes we're bringing in experts who might talk about trade financing or protecting your shipment. It touches on quite a variety of topics our webinars do, and we have about 17 so far that we've done in 2020. So if you have a MySUSTA account, you can always click on our past webinars and you'll see a whole library of information that's, incredibly valuable. And then, contacts for all those people who are really experts on certain regions and markets or topics. So I encourage you to look at our webinars as well. And if you go to the SUSTA website, susta.org, and you click on our events tab, you will see all of the trade missions, trade shows, and webinars. Today's webinar you registered for directly on Zoom, but all of our other webinars, you would go through the SUSTA website. And again, some of the webinars are all free, but the events, they have different, fees and things that come with them. So really each event is a little bit different. So I encourage you, if something looks interesting, to click on it, read a little more, contact us if you have questions. And that's our global events program. And now we will move on to CostShare. So this is the program through which you can apply to get 50% reimbursement of certain international marketing costs. This is the full list here. The ones that are bold and at the top are the ones that in 2020 we've seen companies really taking advantage of. These are things that don't require travel and in-person events. But keep in mind, and we won't talk about these as much, but if you are going to exhibit at an international trade show, 50% of your booth fee would be, your booth fee would be 50% reimbursable. So whether you come with SUSTA through our global events program, or if you're going to go on your own to a trade show where SUSTA is not even there, which, there are tons of trade shows all the time, all over the world, you could apply to get 50% reimbursement of your booth fee. And if it's a show that takes place outside of the U.S., travel for 2 people is also 50% reimbursable. So that would be an international round-trip flight, your lodging, and a per diem. So really, making it a little more financially feasible for small companies. There's also a list of domestic trade shows that take place here in the U.S. that are considered international, and booth fees and exhibition costs for those U.S. shows it's also 50% reimbursable, just not the travel. We can never reimburse U.S. travel expenses. Other things that we're not seeing right now, but in the past have been incredibly popular, are in-store demonstrations and food service promotions. So, in the past, when you would go to Whole Foods or Costco and they have people handing out samples, if you wanted to do that in a foreign market, you could apply to get 50% reimbursement of the costs associated with that. So, the grocery would charge you a fee. You'd have to hire somebody to actually do the sampling. You'd have to buy other provisions to do, cups and bowls and maybe chips if you have salsa or something like that. So things to keep in mind for when we do return to some of these more in-person types of marketing. But in the meantime, we have so many opportunities for companies to use CostShare now. Think about every time you get online, you're hit with an advertisement, whether it's the search engine, whether it's on social media. People are targeting you, and it's quite easy. If you've ever advertised on social media, you can geolocate and say, I want to touch people who have an IP address that's located in Germany, and I want to target even this certain age range. You can really get quite specific. So there was never a better time. If we ever had to not travel, you can still really promote your products quite easily internationally through all kinds of digital medium. So those are things that SUSTA can reimburse half of. If you have to hire a social media firm to figure out how to promote your products in Chile, let's say, so it's a Chilean marketing firm, and they are going to create a whole campaign for you, we could reimburse half of that. So that is something to keep in mind. Same with influencers. We could reimburse half of the cost of hiring an influencer. The thing you have to keep in mind is it has to target a foreign country or a foreign market. And that foreign market has to be in your CostShare application when you apply. So other expenses that we're seeing are companies who want to translate their website or create a foreign URL. So that is, would be if you wanted to have like a little French flag that somebody could click and then they could see your website in French. The development of that, so not just the translating, but the actual web development associated with creating those translated pages or the foreign URL, that is 50% reimbursable. If you wanted to do SEO, search engine optimization, to really optimize your website for a certain market, we could also reimburse half of those costs. Again, we just have to be able to see in the invoice and all the paperwork that it is targeting a foreign country. And then, of course, there are still some more traditional ways to advertise, whether it is, billboards or even in-store displays like the one in the top right. People are going to groceries. It's an essential errand, and you can create, whether it's shelf talkers or something like this within a grocery that is going to call attention to your product in the store. And SUSTA can reimburse 50% of those types of expenses as well. Magazines, TV, radio, you name it. So, don't lose the momentum that you've built in promoting your brands internationally just because you can't travel. SUSTA has a lot of ways to keep supporting your brand. Oh, and I did want to mention, and Whitney, this is something that we had talked about, is that if you have questions about how to do any of this, or you're trying to target a market and you just don't really know where to start, that's where we can call on some of our counterparts, whether it's our in-country consultants or the foreign ag service, the folks who are posted in country. If you need to find, let's say, a marketing firm in the United Arab Emirates, or you need to kind of figure things out a little bit, you can always ask us and we can point you in the right direction. You're not doing this alone. So to get started, you first create your MySUSTA account. So that is at susta.org. You would just click the little sign up, and that's where we get your basic company information, just to make sure that you meet the basic eligibility requirements for SUSTA. And when you create your account, you let us know which of our programs you're interested in participating. 50% cost share, global events, both, or just educational resources, that's fine too. But that's important because if you only select global events, then only the global events director will look at your account and approve you for our events, and vice versa with cost share. So just make sure if you're interested in a certain program that you check that program off. And then for the 50% cost share application, once you've created your account, the cost share director would then give you access to an application for 50% cost share. So, the first step is you get your account approved. The second step is that you complete an application each year. We already have our 2021 applications available to companies. So folks are applying right now for the 50% cost share funds for next year, but it's a rolling application process. So we still have people who are applying for 2020 funds right now as well. I would like to stress that it is not a grant program, it's a reimbursement. So you apply first, then you spend the money, then you send us your expense claims with the invoices and all the required paperwork, and then you get the 50% reimbursement. We ask that companies request a minimum of $2,500 in their annual application, meaning that you're planning on spending at least $5,000. And then the maximum we can reimburse any company in a year is $300,000, meaning that you're spending $600,000 in eligible expenses. When you submit your application, there is a $250 application fee that you pay up front, and then we review your application. We go through it with you. We make sure that, you know, everything looks good, and you know, that you're applying for the things that you say you're, you know, that you're going to do in the next year. So, you know, we do have consultations with you throughout the process. And then once you're contracted into the program, you pay SUSTA a 6% administrative fee on the amount that you request in reimbursement. So that is paid so that we can allocate the funds for you. So if you say you're going to spend $20,000 in international promotions, you're requesting $10,000 from SUSTA, you would pay us $600 to hang on to those fees and allocate them for your company. So that's the extent of the fees, though. And then, you know, once you're in the program, you go out and you do your promotions. If you end up needing more money and more in reimbursement, you can always amend your application. Or, you know, you're applying by foreign country. If you want to change your foreign countries and change things up, you can do that. You can amend your application to either request more money or to change your marketing plans throughout the year. And then, I guess I didn't mention it, but for global events, once you're approved for global events, you just go out and you can register for the events that you want to participate in, and you can pay online with a credit card for the events, or you can mail in a check. That program is a little more straightforward. Once you're approved, you can go out and register. All right, and that is all I have. Whitney, did I miss anything?
I think you pretty much covered it. The only thing that I think I wanted to mention, whether it's in regards to global events or utilizing CostShare, again, if you're a company that's new to export, or maybe you're even a seasoned exporter, a really big component of pursuing these new markets is figuring out which ones should you even pursue, which ones are a good fit for your product category. And I think to reiterate, you know, you're not going through this alone. You can reach out to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. You can reach out to me directly, and we can actually put together market research packets so that you know what your target market should probably be in your category. So if you're a horticultural producer, you know, I'm going to give you your top 5 target markets, and then we're going to create a strategy for you. And then we're going to start building into that strategy trade shows and trade missions that you can do, ways that you can take advantage of the CostShare program. So there's a lot of really great resources that SUSTA offers to companies, but I know it can be overwhelming, especially if you're just starting out. So please remember that we are here to act as a resource, to give you that market research and that support that you need to be able to successfully take advantage of all the programming.
Great. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Whitney. All right. Well, if anybody has questions, now is the time. Type them into the Q&A or the chat box, and we will go ahead and answer them. Let me see if we have anything so far. All right, let's give it a second. Okay, somebody's asking, what if I register for a global event like a trade show and it gets canceled? What happens? That is a great question, and it's something that we've been dealing with this year. So if you are registered, even if it's, you know, a 2021 event that we have up online and it's canceled by the trade show organizer due to COVID, then we can, SUSTA would just provide a reimbursement to your company. Of course, you know, there's the event is not taking place, and you would get the full reimbursement. All right. Anybody else? Hopefully we won't have too many canceled events next year though. But one thing I would like to mention is, as things have gotten canceled or been canceled this year and we've had to pivot, it's been a pretty seamless process, and pretty fast as well. So, we'll continue to innovate and create as many of the virtual opportunities that we can. All right. Well, I am not seeing any other questions come in. Okay. Give it another minute. But if not, this is our contact information up on the screen. Please feel free to contact me at any time, and I know Whitney is the same. Like Whitney said, we're here to help companies who are new to exporting and aren't sure where to start, as well as the seasoned exporters that might have pretty specific and in-depth questions. And if we're not the experts that can help you, we can certainly find somebody who can. All right, well, if there are no other questions, then I guess we will wrap it up. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Whitney, and thanks to the commissioner. And everybody have a great day, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.